Last fall, Apple introduced 4 new iPhones: the 12 mini, 12, 12 Pro, and 12 Pro Max, the most notable of which was the 12 mini, since it was the first time Apple ever introduced a mini iPhone model, and it received a lot of attention. But despite the excitement, the 12 mini experienced disappointing sales, resulting in many news outlets and analysts declaring the model a failure. But I have a different opinion, and in this video, I'm going to outline how people were led to believe the 12 mini failed, and why I think it's actually been a wild success for Apple. This is Greg with Apple Explained, and I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to help decide which topics I cover, make sure you're subscribed, and voting polls like this one will begin appearing in your mobile activity feed. Alright, now the iPhone 12 mini represented a new sales strategy for Apple. In today's smartphone market, smaller devices are generally associated with lower cost. For example, the wildly popular iPhone SE with its 4.7-inch display is Apple's smallest and cheapest model at $400, but the mini comes in at $700. Not to mention, most smartphone manufacturers have been working to include the largest displays possible even in their lowest cost devices. When considering the budget Android market, most smartphones have a screen size larger than 6 inches, but Apple has never been one to follow trends. They figure that there's a substantial segment of customers who'd prefer a smaller phone like the SE with premium features included with larger models. It's something many people online have been requesting for years, and with the 12 mini, they finally received. Apple heavily marketed the device, with billboards all over the world highlighting the size difference between the largest 12 Pro Max and smallest 12 mini. This marketing approach made sense, since the mini was the most affordable model in Apple's premium smartphone lineup at $700, and historically, iPhone models in that position tend to sell the best, like the heavily marketed $700 iPhone 11, which ended up being the world's best-selling smartphone of 2020. But Apple made a crucial error when forecasting the 12 mini's demand. They underestimated how many people wanted a smaller phone with a smaller display and smaller battery. And it's easy to see how this happened. Consider the iPhone SE. It's been a sales success, and it has the smallest display and battery out of any iPhone model since the 8. But those aren't the reasons why people buy the SE. The reason is its mouth-watering $400 price tag that's rarely seen in the smartphone industry today. But the 12 mini's $700 starting price just didn't turn heads. For most, it was a matter of Apple asking more for less. After all, $700 used to buy you a 6.1-inch display with the iPhone 11, but today gets you just 5.4 inches. So for many customers who had been enjoying the larger displays of their iPhone 11, XR, or even 10, didn't consider the smaller 12 mini to be an upgrade. So instead, they looked to other models. And this is where things get even more interesting. Almost as interesting as my website that I built and designed with Squarespace. They have a drag and drop interface that's so simple even I can use it. Plus, Squarespace automatically optimizes your website for mobile devices, so you don't have to waste time creating a desktop and mobile version of your site. They have built-in analytics tools that report page views, traffic sources, time on site, most read content, and more. You can even create an exclusive paid membership area just like on YouTube, and you can create an entire e-commerce store to sell physical or digital products. I actually did that a couple years ago to sell merch, and it was way easier than I imagined. Also, if you Google Apple Explained, my website is one of the first results. That's because Squarespace has the best search engine optimization tools that'll make your website more visible to more people. So go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/appleexplained to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Alright, now logically, you'd expect customers who passed up the 12 mini to purchase its larger counterpart, the $800 iPhone 12. That way, they'd only be spending $100 more for a larger display and battery that they'd enjoyed with previous models. But that's not what happened. Instead, customers flocked to the $1,000 12 Pro, which was $200 more than the 12. Both models had the same 6.1-inch display. But the 12 Pro offers a telephoto lens, a LiDAR sensor, double the storage space, and a stainless steel design instead of aluminum. It's unclear why so many customers opted for the 12 Pro, but it came as a surprise to Apple, who increased production of its LiDAR sensor chips just 1 week after the model went on sale to prevent long lead times. But while the 12 Pro was getting a production boost, the 12 mini was receiving a production cut. Some suppliers were even asked to temporarily stop making components for the 12 mini altogether. Initially, Apple estimated the model would account for 10 to 15% of all iPhone sales, but that number turned out to be just 5%, and it prompted Apple to cut production even further for the rest of 2021. This sparked a flurry of rumors about the future of the Mini, with some saying Apple would end production of the model altogether in early 2021, and others speculating that the planned iPhone 13 mini would be cancelled. According to these articles, the 12 mini was an unmitigated disaster, a failed product that Apple would never try to make again. But these analysts were short-sighted. The 12 mini itself may not have met Apple's sales expectations, but that doesn't mean its existence was pointless. In fact, the 12 mini may have been the catalyst that caused Apple to become the top smartphone manufacturer in the world over the last 6 months, enjoying a sales increase of 38% compared to the same time period the previous year. And that resulted in Apple bringing a record $111 billion in revenue in Q1 of 2021, which was the first time in history that the companies broke $100 billion. So how did the 12 mini fuel the success of Apple's entire iPhone line? Well, it actually has everything to do with the problems I mentioned earlier. Since customers didn't think the 12 mini was worth the $700 price, they were directed to Apple's more expensive models. This raised the iPhone's average selling price to $873, a significant jump from $809 the previous year. We've also failed to consider how the 12 mini may have actually expanded the iPhone's user base, appealing to people who wanted a premium smartphone that actually fits in their small hands and pockets, something smartphone manufacturers haven't offered in years. So if you judge the 12 mini solely by its sales, sure, it didn't sell as well as Apple expected, but that may actually be a good thing, because it encouraged customers who wanted larger displays to spend more on the higher priced models, and it brought more users into the iPhone ecosystem in general, resulting in a record-breaking year for the iPhone lineup and an extremely profitable year for Apple in general. And at the end of the day, making more money is kind of what Apple's aiming for. So I'd say the 12 mini is here to stay, and I expect it to receive regular updates in the coming years, just like every other iPhone model. Alright guys, thanks for watching till the end. Don't forget to subscribe to help decide which topics I cover in the future, and I'll see you in the next video.